how, I guess this is one last leadership question before we touch on that, but how do you see us solving the huge divisive, polarizing place we find America in today when it seems identity politics and everyone's speaking to that one point on both sides, and you don't see any way for the middle to bring us back? Is it one of those things in your mind where eventually we're going to snap back just because you can only go so far apart? Or is there a path you see that you're pushing for to help us do that?
There is a path. And that is really at the crux of why I wrote this book. It's called For Love of Country, Leave the Democrat Party Behind. And it speaks to the experiences that I've had. I'm specific in this book in the words that I choose. I'm not speaking about all Democrats. There are a lot of Democrats that I've personally heard from in the country who share the same frustrations that I've been through and that I've felt with the direction that the leadership of the party has chosen to take. And it's really not a book about partisan politics. Obviously, I talk a lot about the Democratic Party because I was in it for over 20 years and now I've left it and become an independent. I also talk about some of the serious problems with the Republican Party and some of the leaders in that party, with the political system as a whole, that in Washington, it is like a bubble. And people care more about, well, what do the reporters think? Or what do the lobbyists think? Or am I getting invited to this party? And, oh my gosh, I'm not popular anymore. And they left me off the guest list for this other fancy embassy party. And just, it's like, if that's what you're worried about when you're walking through those historic halls where literally, if you've never been to the U.S. Capitol before, you should go and take a tour. And walking up those marble stairs in the U.S. Capitol, you can see the grooves in that marble. And I've often imagined, like, man, the people who have come before us for generations into this place that is rightfully known as the people's house. And yet, sadly, we have so many politicians from both parties who are more concerned about the next election than they are about the people. And when you talk about hyperpartisanship, too often when the parties do come together, it is most often around the cause of starting another war. Without thinking through, hey, is this actually good? Is this necessary? Have we exhausted all other possible means of diplomacy before resorting to either economic warfare or kinetic warfare, either with our troops or a proxy force? Asking the most essential and important questions. And ultimately, this leads to not only a less safe country and a greater security threat, but a power grab taking away our freedom. And so I point out a lot of big problems in this book, but most importantly, I talk about where there's hope. We won't accidentally come together as a country as a reaction of the extremes that are very real. The only way we come together is if we choose to come together. And the path for how to do that is really laid out by our founding fathers. People who disagreed about a lot of things. There's this thing that people think like, oh, well, I don't agree with this person. And so like, why bother have a conversation? Have a conversation. You might learn a thing or two. The Democratic Party, unfortunately, now is like got a lot of purity tests. Like if you're not 100% on all of this laundry list of issues, then you don't belong here. That's not how we are in life. Why would we expect politicians to be that way? Why would we want them to be that way? We don't want a country of people who are robots and think alike and act alike and walk in lockstep out of fear of some kind of cancellation consequence. We need this open marketplace of ideas. We need to treat each other with respect, even when we disagree. Have those fierce debates, even arguments around the things that you're passionate about and that you really care about, but come together in the same way that our founders did around the fundamental principles and freedoms enshrined in the Constitution, enshrined in the Bill of Rights, enshrined in the Declaration of Independence. Because if we don't find our way to come together as fellow Americans first, then we will very quickly find ourselves in a place, as we already are seeing signs that we are headed in a direction where these freedoms are being eroded and taken away by those who only care about power. And if we do nothing, we will wake up one day and wonder, how did this happen? How did these United States of America become a country that resembles more of a banana republic than an actual democratic republic?
But isn't that a lot? Don't we struggle with the boiling frog problem here? Because while everything you just laid out is 100% true, we do need the population to spend the time, energy, and effort to A, understand the problems, yes. B, not only just consume this is what I want to hear media,
yes.
which is what we now have,
yes.
regardless of political side. And it's dangerous in business, it's dangerous in life when you assume you have all the facts because you heard it from one source that may or may not have intention behind delivering that.
Or be credible.
Or be credible. So how can we help? Because I travel speaking around the country, opening Everbowls, and I meet great humans.
Yes.
And that's what I've learned. Even though I live in Southern California, people all over the country, good humans, good people, are so politically divided because that's their community. And they're a product of that. Mm-hmm. And so how do we grassroot this? Because it's not going to come from the top. Because as you said, power begets more power and they have a motive. How can we actually touch these communities to showcase where those founding fathers delivered the path forward and how we have to get reunited and become the United States of America that we once were and hopefully will remain? How do we actually break down to that level?
I am doing all that I can. Mm-hmm. I am on the road almost constantly delivering this message.
And
it's why I wrote the book. Thank you for inviting me here to join you today. But no single person or single organization can accomplish this. Thankfully, there are a lot of other folks who are rightfully concerned about our freedoms being under assault, and who are doing the same. And that's the challenge that I pose in the book, and it's the challenge I pose whether I'm speaking to Democrats or Republicans or Libertarians or Independents or whomever the audience is. The challenge is, if you don't like what's happening, look in the mirror. Ask yourself, how can I be of service? How can I do more? What action can I take to save our country and to defend our freedom? And so there's no easy, clean path to get there. But like you experience in your travels, it's what I've experienced it's what gave me hope when I ran for president, even in the midst of a very crazy, dark political environment. Man, I had like 4 or 5 town halls a day on any given day in any given part of the country. And it was such an amazing and inspiring experience because our country is filled with incredible humans who really do care for each other, and they care for their community, they care for their family, they care for our country. And in my situation, they were coming together in those spaces because they wanted to be a part of the solution, but maybe weren't quite sure how. I have faith and hope that if we are able to spread the truth and sound the alarm about the realities that we face today, that enough Americans will be spurred to take action. How do we defend our freedoms? By exercising our freedoms, by not self-censoring because you're afraid of what the consequences could be. And obviously by not only going and casting your vote when it comes time to do so, but being informed before you go and know that, hey, our job is to hold leaders accountable. We can only do that if we put in the work to know what exactly they're doing. And are they for us or are they for themselves? There's no easy path. There's no easy answer. We go back to where we started from with those kids. It's about individual responsibility and taking ownership of the power that those who founded this country placed in our hands, which is a pretty incredible thing when you really think about it. You know, we the people, wow, like those are powerful words. They said that our government exists only with the consent of the governed. And so while we can rail away all day and night, justifiably so, about how, government bureaucracy and just all that is broken. It really is broken in a lot of our government systems. Got it. Those people are elected by voters. And look, the reality is that we are lucky in a presidential election year if we get 50% of the American citizens to vote.